Hey guys, it's Lisa. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, or if it's your first time here, then welcome. Do I have a fun video for you today. I think I bit off more than I can chew, but I figured let's give it a try and see. My friend Amanda Stevens from Pear Blossom Press, she makes this great product, these easy lights to make light up cards, and she has done a collaboration with Burniston to combine the interactive cards with the light up units that she is selling, and we're going to try to put them together on one card. So, oh boy. Amanda is a master card engineer, so she is definitely used to all this stuff. I, however, although I enjoy making interactive cards, this was quite a feat. But let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to tell you ahead of time that Karen has a video on her YouTube channel that shows how to put this cake together. So when you get all done watching this video and you are super confused, then definitely head over and watch Karen's version, because it's a terrific video and I definitely referred to it a lot while I was making this. So to get started, I just want to show you some of the products that I used, and then I'll get into the making of the card. This is the cake pop-up die from Burniston, and it's a lot of fun. It makes a 3-tier cake that pops up, and it comes with a candle. Actually comes with 2 candle dies so that you can do a back-to-back candle, a little bride and groom, 2 bride and groom dies. It's got some scalloped edging for the sides of the cake, and then it has the 3 tiers of the cake, and these are actually each going to be cut out twice, and I'll show you that when I get into the making of the card. I also used the gift card label from Burniston to decorate the front of the card and the inside of the card, and this is so pretty. It's actually these 2 pieces here, when they got cut out, they kind of sit up a little so you can fit a gift card in here. It's just such a pretty shape, and it's got such a really cool detail in it when you die cut. And it comes with 2 hearts that layer, a little oval, and then it's got these really pretty extra dies. They're kind of ornamental to fit into these spaces here. So I just fell in love with this die when I saw it on her website. And the third die is the Happy Birthday die, which I actually only used the word happy from this die because I decided to make this card an anniversary card for my parents. So I kind of cut the Happy Birthday word apart. This is Amanda's Easy Lights. They are very easy to use, very appropriately named. Her previous lights, you had to actually make the circuit for the light up portion of her card, which was a lot of fun, but this is even easier. You pretty much just tape down the part that the battery slides into. So you slide one of these batteries in here, you push the little purple button, and then each one of these lights, each one of these pieces has 3 tiny lights on the end. So when you press the little purple button, all 3 lights light up with this system. So you could literally do 3 different lights on your card, or if you use 2 of these, you can have 6 lights on your card. The sky is the limit. So that is the Easy Light product. I also, just some of the paper that I used in case you're interested. The heart inside my card, I actually just took some vellum and I colored the vellum with some R14 light rouge, and I punched a heart out of it. I wanted something sheer that the light would show through. And I used some glitter foam inside my card. This is just from Queen & Company. I used the white glitter and the black glitter. The pattern paper on my card is from an old paper pack I had in my stash from Lily of the Valley. I'm not even sure if they make this anymore, but it's called Beach Bliss. And I just love the teals and the tans that they have in this pack. So the pattern paper on my card is from here, and the pieces of the birthday cake that I actually cut out, I used cardstock from Paper Tray Ink, the Aqua Mist cardstock, because it matched that paper pack really, really well. So these are the pieces that I used for the card and the products that I used on the card. To start out with, to make this cake card, I actually made the cake twice. The first cake I made is okay, but I made it with pattern paper, and it was a little thin, and I felt like it just didn't keep up the shape that it was supposed to keep up. Although I love it and it's very pretty, it's got a lot of places in it where, I don't know, I just feel like you can't see the shape of the cake. It kind of collapses in some places, and I feel like cardstock, when I made it out of cardstock, it held its shape a little bit better. So this was my first attempt, and although not horrible, not what I was going for. So then I decided to do the cake a second time with the cardstock, and I felt like it was a lot better. The way that you make this cake is you take the three tiers, the 3 dies that make the tiers of the card, and you cut each tier out twice because they're actually going to glue to each other. So 2 of the large, 2 of the medium, and then 2 of the small. And once you have them all cut out, and if you'll notice, each tier has polka dots in them that are cut out. And what you can do is, while your piece is still inside your die, you can actually go in and use it as a stencil, and you can make polka dots on the tiers of your cake. So I didn't do that for this card, but that's a really neat feature, and Karen shows how to do that on her video. So if you want to do that, that's there for you. The tiers of the cake, like I said, you've got to cut out each tier twice. And then what Karen does, which I thought was very helpful, is she marks each tier with a little X in certain spots, just so that it's easier to tell where you need to do your gluing and which pieces need to get glued to each other. So on the small tier, there's an X on the bottom and the side. Same for the middle, X on the bottom and the side. And on the large tiers, there's 3X along the 3 tabs on the bottom, and there are 3 tabs on the bottom, 1 on the side and 1 on the top. And then the other thing that you want to do before you get started is you want to fold all the score lines. That's another reason why I thought the cardstock worked better, is because I could see and feel the score lines much easier than with the patterned paper. And I guess the cat would like to help make this video. I really wish she could. So anyway, you want to fold on all your score lines. It's going to make it a lot easier to glue the pieces together. There's several, and you can see the score lines once you die cut these pieces out. They'll be very evident in each piece where the score lines are, okay? And then in the 2 larger tiers, there is a hole right in the center of them, and that's so that you can attach it to the tier above. So let's start with the small, the very tiny tier at the very top. The 2 X's that are on the side tabs, these 2 tabs right here, are actually going to get glued to each other. And you can use either liquid glue or you can use double-sided tape. Karen used liquid glue in her video, so that is what I'm using. And I'm already doing it wrong. So don't follow that step. You are going to put glue on the 2 X's, but it's actually going to be on the 2 X's that are where this tab is. So the little round tab is going to be folded up like a valley fold. Everything else that you're folding, like I mentioned before, is going to be a mountain fold. You're going to fold down. But these 2 little half circles are going to be folded up so that you can glue these pieces to each other. So let's start over. We're going to glue this together, but on this tab right here, under the half circle. And you want to try to put glue, if you're going to use glue, you want to put glue on the entire piece. And as Karen says, shellac it together so it stays together. So these 2 are going to be glued together. And then Karen had a really good idea to take a paper clip and just put it on this tab right here to keep it together and set it aside to dry while you go ahead and glue down the next tier of the cake. So once you have these 2 glued together, you're going to have something that, I don't know, kind of looks like a little airplane if you ask me. But you can see those 2 half circles are sitting up. That actually is going to be the very, very top of the cake. You could slip a candle in there if you wanted to when the card is all done. The middle section of the cake, same thing. You're going to line these up like this so that these big tabs with the X's are next to each other, and they're going to get glued together. And again, like I said before, you could put a paper clip here just to keep them together. And these are going to stick together. You can put them aside to dry. And then the bottom tier of the cake, the largest tier, you're going to actually bend that middle tab out of the way. We don't want to glue that right now. We're going to glue these 4 X's to each other. So if you want to lay your pieces down just like this, that way you'll know what gets glued to each other. It's going to be this bottom panel here and this bottom panel here. And these are going to go right up against each other. And like I said, some of you might like using double-sided tape better. Sometimes I find with liquid glue though, as you'll notice, you've got a little bit of wiggle room once you put something together. So you can kind of line it up and make sure it's straight, because with a card like this, if you have things not lined up correctly, it kind of makes for a wonky cake. But hey, if you like wonky cakes, that's okay. Then you don't have to line things up. But if you want a straight cake and one that stands up, then you want things to line up. And again, that's going to get put aside to dry. Then you'll go back and you'll take the top tier of the cake, and what you're going to do is you're going to fold it down, and the place on the side where you have the X's are going to get glued to the piece that they fold over to. So the 2 little X's are going to get glue. Yep, really use some help from the cat now. And then what I like to do is I like to take my tweezer and just hold it together like this. It's easier, just a smaller area to close, so I just find it easier to go in there with the tweezer and press them together. What's going to happen is these 2 tabs at the bottom are going to be the ones that actually fit into the next tier of the cake. So those are glued together, and this is actually going to be the top of the cake. It's going to kind of sit down in the cake. And the second tier of the cake, it's going to be the same thing. These tabs are going to get glued to each other. And again, I like to take my tweezer just so that I can hold it together. At least until it sticks. It won't pull apart. And it's hard while you're putting the cake together because everything kind of wants to pop up and you're not quite sure if things are going into the right place. But I can assure you that once it's all dry and put together, see, you can kind of see where the little, it's like the little middle tier of the cake. It's adorable. A lot of tedious work, but it's worth it in the end. These cards are adorable. So the top tier of the cake, you've got these 2 tabs sticking out at the bottom, and then you have these 2 holes in the middle tier of the cake. These tabs are actually going to slide right down into those holes. It's another reason why I liked using cardstock, because it was sturdy enough to push that down. When I push down into the second tier of the cake with the paper, you can see where the paper kind of buckled and had gaps, whereas I feel like the cardstock just made a more clean look where everything was closed up. So those pieces that I just pushed down in there, you want to pull them until you kind of hear them snap on each side. Karen made it so that there's a little spot that allows those pieces to lock in to the holes that they're going in so that they'll never come out. And then she actually suggested taking a piece of Scotch tape and putting it inside that tab on the side of it, and then down low. I don't know if you can see that. Just so that they will never come out for the purpose of time. I'm not going to do that right now. The bottom of the cake, again, the same idea. We're going to fold the cake down. So we have a piece like this. We're going to fold it down, and then we're going to glue those tabs to each other once again. And I'm going to go in with my tweezer again and just hold those in place. And the other side of the cake, we're going to do that again with the glue on the tab. And that's going to get held together. So again, it's a lot of repetition for the 3 tiers. You're kind of doing the same thing right down the line. That does make it a little bit easier, since it makes it just a little easier to know what you're going to be doing on the next tier. And on the very, very bottom of the cake, if you turn it over, these 2 tabs that are coming out of the bottom with the X's on them, they're going to get glued to the 2 side tabs with the X's. So, hello, Ginger. So this is going to be glued to this side. Feel free to pick up some glue, Ginger, and help me out. I don't know, these cats, they just want to be in the videos, but they don't want to do anything. Oh, I am all thumbs. Yep, make yourself at home, Ginge. Okay, so that side is going to get glued down. And this is actually the piece that I'm gluing now that's going to get glued to your card base at the very end. Okay. Oh, you comfortable there? You're going to sleep right through the video? Alright, so now these are glued down. Alrighty, if you are still with me, that's the bottom tier of the cake. These are the top 2 that I just made. And again, you've got those tabs at the bottom. They're going to slip into these 2 holes. And again, if you push them down far enough, you could even pull them through from the bottom. Sometimes that's easier. There's 2 little nicks in the side of the tabs, and it allows them to lock into place. You can almost hear it when you're doing it. You could actually see it. There it goes. And there it goes. So you can actually see it and feel it lock into place. So there is your cake. This is so cute. The top is actually going to sit down in there like that. So you can see the cake from the top, from the side. And again, the bottom should look like this. You've got your 2 tabs here and your 2 flat portions here. And the cake, when the card is closed, is actually supposed to fold up so that your card can fold flat. So that's the really cool thing about these interactive dies and these 3D dies, is that once they're made, they actually collapse, so you can fit it into an envelope and send it in the mail. So once your card is made, then it's going to, Karen has also included these scalloped dies so that you can decorate the sides of your cake. You can put icing on your cake. Oops, sorry, Ginge. And there is the small die for the top layer and the medium die and the large die right down. I'm not going to do it right now in video. I'm going to show you how I did it on this cake. What you need to do is cut out 2 of each of these pieces of scallop, and then they glue right onto the top of each of the tiers of the cake. So real easy to do. I would recommend using some double-sided either paper or glitter, whatever you're going to use to decorate. I would recommend using double-sided adhesive on that paper because it makes it much easier to stick to the cake. And then what I also did is I cut out the candle that I showed you earlier, 2 of them, so that I could insert a candle at the top of the cake because I wanted the candle to be the thing that was going to light up on this card. So let me show you the card that I actually wound up making. It's not quite put together, but I saved a few steps so that I could show you on camera. So this is the card that I made, and let me make some room here. I have this awesome bowl I want to show you because I used it while I was making this card. I think I got it on Amazon, but it's magnetic and it holds dies in it, holds anything magnetic in it. And what I did is, since I was working with so many dies during the making of this card, I would throw them all in the bowl so I didn't lose them and they didn't fall on the floor, or the cat didn't run off with them. So that's an awesome little product. Like I said, I think I got it on Amazon, and I think it's sold as the kind of bowl where like for tools, like when you're working with little screws and nails and stuff, to keep them in one place. But like I said, it works great with the dies. So this is the card that I made. This is the front of the card. This is so pretty. I really love the way this came out. And I used that gift card die on the front. Excuse me, Ginger. The gift card label on the front. And I used the happy from the happy birthday die. But I cut off the word birthday and I stamped the word anniversary on here. I didn't have a die that said anniversary, so I wound up using the word anniversary from an old paper tray set that I had, paper tray ink, and it's the Luxe letterpress set. It had the word anniversary in it, and it was actually just the perfect size and font for this project, and I stamped it in some baked brown sugar ink from Stampin' Up, and it seemed to be the perfect color to match my craft cardstock and the browns in the pattern paper. So that's the front of the card, and then when you open it, you can see that the cake pops up. It actually pops up, and I used some of that foam glitter that I showed you earlier to do the scallops on the cake. In Karen's video, she actually showed where you could take those scallops and decorate the whole bottom of your cake, and it makes it look like a cake plate, which I thought was a really cool look. And when I do finally finish off this card, I might decide to do that. But for the inside of the card, I wanted to show you how I put the light up element in here. And what I did was I took the light up element and I actually strung it through the cake. You could see better in one of the cakes that's not adhered to the card. I kind of took the lights and I threaded them up through the cake where the holes are in each tier, so that one light came up to the very top of the cake and I was able to put it in between the candles. The candle at the top of the cake. The other light up element I decided to thread through and put it under the heart right here. And this is the heart that I showed you earlier that I made out of vellum. I colored a little bit of red Copic and then I cut out the heart, and that way it's sheer so that, I don't know if you can see this, but when I push the light you can see right through the heart. And I made it so that the little candle at the top of the cake lights up. So each power pack that Amanda made, the Easy Lights, comes with 3 teeny little lights. I wound up using 2 of them. The third one is under here, but you can't really tell that there's 2 under here. So 1 light goes to the candle and 2 go to the heart down at the bottom. Isn't that neat? And this is the little bride and groom dies that come in the, that came with the birthday cake pop-up die. And I cut those out of the foam as well. So now for the light up element, the next part of the card. I actually have the light up kit underneath this piece of pattern paper. I had to use a second piece of pattern paper in my card so that I could cover up the whole mechanism that does the lights. And I made a little hole in the pattern paper so that the lights could come up through the heart, and the lights also are strung over here to go up into the cake. And so since I wanted to cover all this up, I took another piece of pattern paper, and when I do glue this pattern paper down, I probably will put it up on foam tape so that it's not as bulky right here with the battery underneath. But the the Easy Lights are really cool because they come with the batteries separate, and all you do is you peel one of these batteries off and you slip it right into the power pack here, and then the 3 lights at the very end you can actually put anywhere on your card. She's made it, Amanda's made it so easy to make your card any way you want and personalize it any way you want. So it's really neat. Little purple button. Like I said, little purple button just gets pushed. And what I'll probably do when I finish this card off is make a stamp push here, something that lets the recipient know that if they push over here, they can light up the card. So that's really cool how that came out. And I'll also probably do some decorations on the top of the card over here. But of course, the sky is the limit, however you want to decorate. And I also probably will pop this up on foam tape just so that it sits a little bit better on the card. The only other thing that I did want to show you is how to glue the cake down to the base of your card. So I chose to do a top folding card the long way. Instead of the top, it's a top folding card, but it's the long way. It's 8.5 by 5.5, and it's folded at 4 1/4. And then what you do is you're going to open up your card. Now, of course, on my card, I chose to cut some pattern paper from the pack I showed you earlier to decorate, but I'm going to show you on a plain card. And what you're going to do is you're going to take the bottom of your cake. And now for this part, gluing the cake down, I actually decided to use double-sided tape. I found it easier to do because I felt like it held better to the card when the card gets opened and closed. If you open and close that card a few times, sometimes, I don't know, I was a little skeptical that the liquid glue would do its job. So I took some double-sided tape, 2 pieces, and that's going to get glued to the 2 bottom panels with the X's at the bottom of your cake. One here and one here. And remove that tape. And then what you're going to do is you're actually going to, oops, my cake escaped. You're going to make sure yours doesn't, but you're going to collapse your cake, and the piece that I just peeled off where the adhesive is exposed, I'm going to lay down right in the center top of the card. And these 2 tabs that are sticking out, I'm going to make sure that they butt up right against the middle of the card, and I'm going to pick the card up to make sure that they don't come past that middle fold. And then I'm going to push really hard so that that double-sided adhesive sticks to the card. And like I said, I just want to make sure that those 2 tabs are not extending past the middle of the card. And then once I know that that's stuck down very well, I'm going to peel off the other piece of double-sided tape. And I am going to close my card, and that will grab the other side of the cake so that when I open up my card, voila, you have your pop-up cake. It really is cool. And I promise you will feel very accomplished when you get to this point. So what I did for this card is I cut that candle out, the die that I showed you earlier with foam tape. I'm sorry, with the glitter foam to make my candle. And I wound up, like I said, weaving the lights right up through the cake. Trust me, if I showed you that, this video would be way too long. And then I did the other lights right under this panel here. So both areas light up. So if you are still with me, and the cat is still with me, although I have to say absolutely no help.